A desert planet with twin suns.
Why do I sense we've picked up another pathetic life form?
Use my knowledge. Much to learn. You still have.
Welcome back to Twin Sun Talks, folks. I'm your host, Jonah Liu. Thank you so much for listening. Today's episode is going to be shorter, and it's going to be not really about Star Wars, but I'm going to have a couple mores for you at the very end, just a few little tidbits, just to make sure that you get your Star Wars fix. But I'm actually in the process of moving into my new townhome up at Texas A&M, so haven't gotten too much time to research any new episodes or do anything like that. So what this episode's going to be is just a housekeeping episode, just kind of letting y'all know some changes that are going to be made to this podcast, what I want it to look like in the future, and some things that I'm going to be bringing that are new. So that being said, there aren't going to be any segments other than more, so I'm just going to keep on talking. So first of all, this is fairly big, but as y'all know, or may not, podcast episodes for this podcast have been coming out on Wednesdays, but since Disney has now moved their release dates for shows to Wednesdays, now I'm not going to want to do a review and an episode in the same day. So when Book of Boba Fett comes out in the winter, I don't want to have to do an episode review and then also a regular episode. I think that that's too much content to put out in one day. So what I'm going to be doing starting next week is moving my episode release days to Monday rather than Wednesday, so that I can have Mondays be my regular episode, Wednesdays be the day that I review stuff whenever shows are going on, and then Fridays will be the day that I have my segment that I'm going to be going into a bit later. The ability to speak does not make you intelligent, but more on that later. So yes, starting next week, we will not be having episodes on Wednesdays. We will start having them on Mondays to account for the change in schedule that Disney has made. Secondly, I've made this announcement a while back, but for those of you who don't know, and I haven't really incorporated these yet anyways, except for one of them, I'm going to start having 3 new segments, aside from the existing ones, which are ARC Trooper Training, Visions, I Have Spoken, I've Got a Bad Feeling About This, and more. I am going to start having a segment, or 3 new segments. So one is going to be called, This Is Where the Fun Begins.
This is where the fun begins.
What this is going to be is it's going to be a game segment that I'm going to do when guests are on, and we're either going to fill out a survey or we're going to do a draft of sorts where we draft different characters, like we'll draft our favorite clones and then we'll decide who has the strongest team. Or we'll do something like I did in my episode with Sean Doe, where it's like, okay, this is a Star Wars character, let's pit it against a character in another franchise and see who we think would win. Something like that, or a Would You Rather, something simple like that. Just a fun little thing to fill the time with some guests that isn't specifically like informational, but still entertaining. The next segment that I'm going to be bringing to you is called Incoming Transmissions.
Is Star Wars the one with the little wizard boy?
So this is essentially going to be just my mailbag segment, and it's going to be open to any questions that y'all may have, hence the clip of Ron Swanson as the Zinger, or any comments that you may have about the podcast, any corrections that you may have, or any suggestions that you may have for how to make this show better. You can request to remain anonymous, or I can give you a shout out on air. It's completely up to y'all, but I want that to be a way that I interact with my listeners, and I think that that would be a super cool thing. I've actually already had an episode with Incoming Transmissions where I read off some stuff from Jake and Cole Croft as well as John Grimes. Shout out to y'all again. Thank y'all for writing in. If y'all do want to write in, you can either DM me at Twin Sun Talks on Instagram. You can comment, or actually don't comment online unless you can say like, hey, read this in Incoming Transmissions. You can comment on YouTube, or you can email us at twinsuntalks@gmail.com. There's a direct link to that you can if you go into contact information on our website, you can go into there's a little speech bubble that you can type into, and it sends a message directly to us. So that'd be awesome. And yeah, please hit us up with anything. I'd love to read what y'all have to say. Third and last but not least, we have a segment which is honestly going to be almost a different show in itself, called The Ability to Speak Does Not Make You Intelligent.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
What this is going to be, in order to kind of avoid having the more conversational, opinion-based episodes that I've had in the past with people like Scott Fonseca, Jeb Liu, and Sean Doe, what I'm going to do is make an entirely new segment out of them, and it's going to come out, I'm going to say, maybe once a month or once every couple months, and it's going to be probably closer to an hour long, and it's going to be put out now on Fridays. Initially, when I made this announcement, it was going to be Mondays, but since I've flipped around my schedule, it's going to be released on Fridays. And it's essentially just going to be more of a talk show format where I have a vague premise of what I want to talk about going into it, but we're not necessarily going to stick to that. We're just going to talk about Star Wars and other stuff that we like and have a good time. And I just don't want to have that be the only content that I put out to y'all in a week. So what I'll do is I will put out a regular episode on Mondays, and then weeks that we have an ability to speak does not make you intelligent, then we will have that later in the week for y'all to enjoy as well. So those are our new segments. And last but not least at all, once again, I announced this in the last episode, but we are on streaming platforms now. We're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So, and we are still available on YouTube and our website like before, but the website has a bunch of new features. You can change the speed. You can search for keywords. You can skip forward 15 seconds or backwards 15 seconds. It's awesome. YouTube's the same. But yeah, please go ahead and subscribe to us on any of those or all of those and help boost our numbers. Share it with your friends. We're trying to make this podcast more accessible so that more people can hear it, and I get to engage with even more of y'all, and I just want to share that with y'all, and I want to make sure that the word's getting out. So if y'all could support us in any way possible, that would be fantastic, and I really appreciate y'all that have supported us since the beginning, and those of you who are starting to support us now. So that's about all that I have. Let's go into a very hefty segment of more. So I'm going to actually be giving y'all 3 mores this episode, since I didn't have anything super educational about Star Wars in this episode. And what I'm going to be doing, kind of like I've done in previous episodes, is I'm going to make 2 of these mores what I'm going to be using for future Rank of Master questions. So, once again, if y'all who are going to be on the show are listening to the podcast, good for you. You might get these questions and you might get them correct. But if not, then sucks. Just a cool little way for me to tell who's listening and who's not. So first one, this is not one that I had considered to be a Rank of Master question, but it could be. The average lifespan of a Wookiee is 400 years, which I figured in my first episode, which was kind of a housekeeping episode, I did a fact about Wookiees, so I might as well do another one. For my 2 Rank of Master mores, I'll pose them as a question and then answer them. So, who is the pod racer whose pod stalls out other than Anakin Skywalker before beginning the race, pod race in The Phantom Menace? The answer to this is Ben Quadraneros. Just a little extra information there. And then, what is the name of Lando Calrissian's droid co-pilot and vocal droids right activist in the movie Solo, A Star Wars Story? The answer to this question is L337. I'd probably accept L3 as an acceptable answer for that. And then, since those are both name questions, let's say that what was Qui-Gon Jinn's homeworld? It is Coruscant, which I actually didn't know until I read the Star Wars book. But yeah, that was an extra one. I gave 3 Rank of Master questions out for free. Not necessarily going to say which rank those correspond to, but just file those away if you think you might be on this show later on. That's about all that I have for y'all today. Once again, please subscribe to us and listen to us on whatever streaming service you use to listen. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. That's about all that I have. You've taken your first steps into a larger world. May the Force be with you, and I will see y'all in the next episode on Monday, not Wednesday. That's all that I have for y'all. Bye, friends.